Throughout history, every major civilization has grappled with the concept of a place of punishment in the afterlife. From the frozen wastes of Helheim in Norse mythology to the burning layers of Jahannam in Islamic tradition, these various interpretations share striking similarities while maintaining their unique cultural significance. Today, as we stand in an age of scientific advancement and spiritual questioning, understanding hell's true nature becomes more relevant than ever. In our modern world, where the boundaries between religious belief and secular thinking often blur, hell remains a powerful metaphor for human suffering and moral responsibility. Yet, beneath the surface of common understanding lies a wealth of ancient knowledge, hidden in texts that span continents and centuries. These documents, many predating our modern religions, paint a picture of hell that might surprise even the most dedicated scholars. As we embark on this journey through time and text, we'll uncover the evolutionary path of hell's concept, from its primitive beginnings in ancient Mesopotamia to its sophisticated theological interpretations in modern times. We'll explore how different cultures have borrowed and transformed these ideas, creating a rich tapestry of beliefs that continues to influence our understanding today. This isn't just a historical examination, it's a deep dive into humanity's eternal struggle with mortality, justice, and the consequences of our actions. By understanding how our ancestors viewed hell, we gain invaluable insights into our own beliefs and fears about the afterlife. The ancient texts we'll explore offer not just descriptions of punishment, but profound reflections on human nature itself. The truth about hell, as we'll discover, is far more intricate than most imagine. It's a story that weaves together theology, philosophy, psychology, and human nature in ways that continue to resonate in our contemporary world. Let's begin our descent into this fascinating realm, guided not by fear or superstition, but by the wisdom preserved in humanity's most ancient and sacred texts. Our journey starts in the cradle of civilization, where the first written accounts of the afterlife began to shape humanity's understanding of what awaits us beyond death's door. The story that unfolds will challenge everything you thought you knew about hell, revealing truths that have remained hidden in plain sight for thousands of years. This exploration isn't for the faint of heart, but for those who seek to understand one of humanity's most enduring and influential concepts. Through carefully preserved ancient texts, we'll piece together the real story of hell, a tale that's far more surprising, complex, and profound than any modern interpretation has dared to suggest. The depths of these ancient writings reveal far more than just historical accounts. They uncover the very essence of human understanding about morality, justice, and existence itself. Within their weathered pages lies a profound revelation about humanity's eternal quest to comprehend not just punishment, but the very nature of redemption and the ultimate purpose of our moral choices. Deep beneath the layers of time, preserved in stone and clay, ancient civilizations left us their first trembling attempts to understand what awaits beyond death's threshold. Their voices, though separated from us by millennia, speak with remarkable clarity about realms of justice and retribution that would shape human consciousness for generations to come. In the heart of ancient Mesopotamia, amidst the fertile valleys of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, humanity first began to wrestle with the concept of an underworld. The Sumerians, pioneers of written language, depicted a realm called Kur, a dark, dusty place where the dead existed as shadows of their former selves. This wasn't yet the hell we know today, but rather a neutral realm where all souls, regardless of their earthly deeds, were destined to dwell. The Babylonians expanded upon this concept with their vision of Urkala, a seven-gated city of the dead. Here we find the first glimpses of divine justice in the afterlife. Their epic poem, The Descent of Ishtar, describes a realm where souls drink muddy water and eat dust, their only relief coming from proper burial rites performed by their living descendants. This connection between earthly actions and afterlife conditions would become a cornerstone of later hell concepts. Ancient Egypt brought unprecedented sophistication to afterlife beliefs. Their Book of the Dead presents us with Duat, where souls face judgment before Osiris. Here emerges a crucial development: the weighing of the heart against Mot's feather of truth. Those found wanting faced Amit, the devourer of souls, perhaps the first instance of permanent soul destruction as divine punishment. This Egyptian innovation of judgment and consequence would echo through the centuries, influencing Greek, Jewish, and ultimately Christian concepts of hell. The Greeks transformed these ideas with their realm of Hades, adding distinct regions for different types of souls. Tartarus, the deepest pit reserved for the wicked, introduces the concept of eternal torment for moral transgressions. The rivers of the underworld, Styx, Acheron, Lethe, Phlegethon, and Cocytus, each carried specific symbolic significance, painting a complex picture of the soul's journey after death. Through Greek philosophy and literature, these ideas spread throughout the Mediterranean world, laying groundwork for future religious interpretations. Persian Zoroastrianism brought another crucial element: the temporary nature of hell. Their texts speak of a great purifying fire at the end of time, through which all souls must pass. The wicked would suffer longer in this fire, but ultimately all would be purifying. This revolutionary concept of hell as reformative rather than purely punitive would later influence both Islamic and Christian theological debates about the nature and purpose of divine punishment. Chinese ancient texts present us with Diyu, an intricate bureaucracy of the underworld with multiple levels and specific punishments for specific sins. This systematic approach to divine justice, complete with judges, records, and precisely defined penalties, represents humanity's growing sophistication in conceptualizing cosmic justice. The detailed organization of Diyu would later find parallels in medieval Christian visions of hell's circles and Islamic descriptions of Jahannam's levels. The most profound transformation of these ancient concepts occurred within the evolving monotheistic traditions, where the underworld shifted from a neutral realm of the dead to a place of divine punishment for moral failure. This development reflected growing human understanding of moral responsibility and justice, transforming hell from a mere destination of the dead into a powerful symbol of ultimate accountability. These ancient origins reveal a fascinating progression, from simple underworlds to complex systems of divine justice, from neutral waiting rooms to places of punishment and purification. Each civilization added its own insights, gradually building the sophisticated concept that would eventually shape religious and philosophical thought for millennia to come. The biblical vision of hell represents a dramatic evolution in human understanding of divine justice. The Hebrew Bible, or Old Testament, initially presents Sheol, a shadowy underworld similar to its Mesopotamian predecessors. This realm appears as a place where all dead reside, both righteous and wicked, echoing earlier ancient concepts. Yet, as Hebrew theology developed, Sheol began to take on darker overtones, particularly for those who had rejected divine law. The prophetic books introduce more specific imagery of divine punishment. Isaiah speaks of an eternal fire, while Daniel introduces the concept of resurrection, followed by judgment, some to everlasting life, others to shame and everlasting contempt. These writings mark a crucial transition from the neutral underworld of early Hebrew thought to a place where divine justice manifests in the afterlife. The New Testament brings a revolutionary transformation to this concept through the teachings of Jesus and his followers. The Greek word, Gehenna, used repeatedly in the Gospels, refers to a real place, the Valley of Hinnom outside Jerusalem, where garbage burned continuously. This powerful metaphor evolves into a symbol of spiritual destruction. Jesus speaks of this realm not as a mere physical location, but as a state of ultimate separation from God. The book of Revelation expands this imagery with vivid descriptions of a lake of fire, where those whose names are not written in the book of life face eternal separation from divine presence. This apocalyptic literature introduces complex symbolism that would profoundly influence later Christian theology. The concept of the second death emerges, not physical death, but a spiritual state of permanent alienation from the divine. Early Christian theologians wrestled with these texts, debating whether hell's torments were literal or metaphorical. Origen of Alexandria proposed that hell's fires were purifying rather than purely punitive, suggesting eventual universal salvation. Augustine of Hippo argued for a literal interpretation, establishing what would become the dominant medieval view of hell as a place of eternal, conscious torment. The development of biblical hell reflects a sophisticated moral philosophy. Unlike earlier underworld concepts, it explicitly links eternal destiny with moral choice and divine relationship. The emphasis shifts from mere punishment to the natural consequences of rejecting divine love and truth. This theological innovation would have profound implications for human understanding of moral responsibility and free will. These biblical perspectives don't exist in isolation, but engage in dialogue with contemporary Greco-Roman and Jewish apocalyptic traditions. The synthesis of Hebrew concepts of divine justice with Greek philosophical precision created a new paradigm that would dominate Western thought for centuries to come. This theological framework established hell not merely as a place of punishment, but as a state of being that results from moral choices made in earthly life. The biblical narrative transforms hell from a mere afterlife destination into a powerful metaphor for ultimate justice and moral consequence. This revolution in religious thought would lay the foundation for medieval interpretations and continue to influence modern theological discussions about the nature of divine judgment and human responsibility. The concept of hell profoundly shaped Western cultural imagination, reaching its artistic zenith in Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy. This masterpiece forever transformed how humanity visualizes divine punishment, introducing the 9 circles of hell where sinners face punishments fitting their crimes. Dante's vivid imagery, from the winds that eternally buffet the lustful to the frozen lake containing history's greatest traitors, created a framework that continues to influence modern interpretations. Medieval European art embraced these infernal visions with unprecedented vigor. Cathedral walls displayed graphic scenes of torment, serving both as artistic expression and spiritual warning. Hieronymus Bosch's The Garden of Earthly Delights epitomizes this tradition, presenting hell as a nightmarish landscape where human sin meets divine justice. These artistic representations did more than frighten. They provided a complex visual language for discussing morality and consequence. Literature beyond Dante continued to evolve hell's representation. Milton's Paradise Lost revolutionized the concept by humanizing Satan and exploring hell's psychological dimensions. His famous line, "The mind is its own place, and in itself can make a heaven of hell, a hell of heaven," introduced a sophisticated philosophical perspective that would influence centuries of literary and theological thought. The Renaissance period brought new interpretations as artists and writers began to view hell through an increasingly psychological lens. Paintings shifted from literal depictions of torture to more nuanced explorations of spiritual anguish. This transformation reflected broader cultural changes as society moved from medieval certainties toward modern complexities. Hell's influence extended beyond religious art into secular culture. Medieval mystery plays featuring demons and torments evolved into sophisticated theatrical productions exploring human nature. These performances served as both entertainment and moral instruction, demonstrating how cultural expressions of hell adapted to serve changing social needs. The emergence of Gothic literature in the 18th and 19th centuries drew heavily on hell imagery to explore human psychology. Works like Christopher Marlowe's Dr. Faustus used infernal themes to examine ambition, knowledge, and moral choice. The Romantic poets reinterpreted hell as a state of mind, focusing on psychological torment rather than physical punishment. Modern cinema inherited this rich cultural tradition, transforming ancient concepts for contemporary audiences. Films ranging from serious theological explorations to action-packed supernatural thrillers demonstrate hell's enduring power to captivate imagination. Directors like Jean-Luc Godard in No Exit and Clive Barker in Hellraiser transformed traditional imagery into modern psychological horror. Contemporary literature continues to reinvent hell for new generations. Authors like Neil Gaiman and Clive Barker blend ancient mythology with modern sensibilities, creating fresh interpretations that resonate with current cultural concerns. Their works demonstrate how hell remains a potent metaphor for exploring human nature, morality, and the consequences of choice in our modern world. Modern scientific investigation into hell-like experiences begins with near-death experiences, NDEs. While these accounts vary widely across cultures and individuals, researchers like Dr. Raymond Moody and Dr. Bruce Grayson have documented intriguing patterns. Unlike the traditional imagery of hell, NDEs that contain hellish elements often describe psychological states of extreme isolation rather than physical torment, suggesting a connection between ancient concepts of divine punishment and modern understanding of human consciousness. Philosophy has gradually shifted hell's interpretation from a literal place to a state of being. Existentialist philosophers like Jean-Paul Sartre explored this concept in works like No Exit, where hell becomes the perpetual presence of other people and the weight of their judgments. This philosophical reimagining suggests that hell might be better understood as a condition of consciousness rather than a geographical location in the afterlife. Psychological perspectives offer fascinating insights into hell's enduring power in human consciousness. Carl Jung viewed hell as a representation of the shadow self, those aspects of our psyche we fear and reject. Modern psychological research into trauma and moral injury reveals how humans can experience hell-like states in this life, lending new meaning to ancient descriptions of spiritual torment. Neuroscience has begun exploring the brain states associated with transcendent and horrific experiences. Studies of temporal lobe activity during religious experiences suggest that our brains might be wired to conceptualize both divine reward and punishment. This research doesn't dismiss religious experiences, but offers new frameworks for understanding how humans process concepts of ultimate justice and consequence. Contemporary philosophers have developed sophisticated arguments about hell's compatibility with divine justice. Thinkers like John Hick propose that any eternal punishment must serve a rehabilitative purpose rather than mere retribution. Others argue that hell represents the natural consequence of free will, not a punishment imposed from outside, but the logical outcome of human choices to reject relationship with the divine. The emergence of quantum physics and multiverse theories has led some theorists to propose scientific models that could accommodate traditional afterlife concepts. While highly speculative, these theories suggest how modern scientific frameworks might engage with ancient religious concepts without necessarily contradicting either. This intersection of science and spirituality opens new avenues for understanding traditional beliefs about final judgment and eternal consequences. Environmental scientists draw parallels between traditional hell imagery and contemporary climate change concerns. The ancient fear of a world consumed by fire finds eerie echoes in modern scientific predictions, suggesting that hell's imagery might serve as a powerful metaphor for human-caused environmental catastrophe. This interpretation transforms hell from a purely spiritual concern to an urgent warning about human responsibility for planetary welfare. Cognitive science offers insights into why hell concepts persist across cultures and eras. Research into moral psychology suggests that beliefs in ultimate justice satisfy deep cognitive needs for fairness and meaning. These findings help explain hell's enduring influence while offering new ways to interpret its significance for contemporary life. Islamic tradition presents Jahannam as a meticulously structured realm of divine justice. Unlike the Christian hell, which often emphasizes eternal punishment, Jahannam offers the possibility of purification for some souls. The Quran describes 7 distinct levels, each designed for specific categories of sinners, reflecting Islam's emphasis on divine mercy balanced with justice. The lowest level, Hawiyah, reserved for hypocrites and those who reject faith after accepting it, mirrors the special condemned status that many religions assign to spiritual betrayal. Buddhist cosmology approaches the concept differently, presenting Naraka, temporary hellish realms where karma naturally works itself out. These states are neither eternal nor punitive in the Western sense, but rather part of the cycle of rebirth. Beings in Naraka experience the natural consequences of their actions until their negative karma is exhausted. This perspective transforms hell from a place of punishment into an integral part of spiritual evolution, reflecting Buddhism's broader emphasis on personal transformation through understanding. Hindu traditions offer yet another perspective through their concept of Naraka Loka. These realms, overseen by Yama, the god of death, serve as temporary places of purification rather than eternal damnation. The Garuda Purana describes various hells corresponding to specific transgressions, but crucially, these states are not permanent. This aligns with Hinduism's cyclical view of existence, where even the most severe karmic consequences eventually lead to new opportunities for spiritual growth. Chinese religious traditions blend Buddhist concepts with indigenous beliefs about Diyu, creating a complex bureaucratic vision of the afterlife. The 10 courts of hell, each presided over by a judge, demonstrate remarkable sophistication in matching punishment to transgression. This administrative approach to divine justice reflects Chinese cultural emphasis on social order and moral harmony, while also incorporating possibilities for ancestor intervention and ritual redemption. Norse mythology presents Helheim, ruled by the goddess Hel, as a cold, misty realm rather than one of fire and brimstone. This striking contrast with Middle Eastern and Mediterranean concepts of hell reveals how environmental and cultural context shape afterlife beliefs. The Norse understanding of a cold hell might reflect the harsh realities of northern European winters, demonstrating how physical environment influences spiritual imagination. African traditional religions often conceive of punishment in the afterlife differently, focusing more on the consequences of disrupting community and natural harmony than individual moral transgression. Many African societies view the afterlife as a continuation of community relationships, where the worst punishment is separation from the ancestral community rather than physical torment. Modern Zoroastrianism maintains its ancient teaching that hell serves a purifying rather than purely punitive purpose. The concept of universal salvation through fire, where even the worst souls eventually return to Ahura Mazda, offers a hopeful perspective on divine justice. This theology influenced both Islamic and Christian discussions about the possibility of universal redemption, showing how religious ideas cross-pollinate and evolve. These diverse religious perspectives reveal hell as a dynamic concept that adapts to different cultural and spiritual frameworks while addressing universal human concerns about justice, consequence, and the ultimate meaning of moral choice. In our contemporary world, hell has evolved into a multifaceted concept that transcends its religious origins. Modern theological debates increasingly focus on hell as a state of self-imposed separation from divine love rather than a place of physical torture. This psychological interpretation resonates with contemporary understanding of human consciousness and free will, while maintaining the gravity of moral choice. Current theological discussions often emphasize the relationship between divine justice and mercy. Progressive religious thinkers propose models of hell that incorporate possibilities for growth and reconciliation, while traditionalists maintain the importance of eternal consequences for moral choices. This ongoing dialogue reflects broader social debates about justice, rehabilitation, and personal responsibility. Popular culture continues to reshape hell's imagery for contemporary audiences. Video games, literature, and films explore increasingly sophisticated versions of afterlife punishment, often blending traditional religious imagery with modern psychological insights. These creative interpretations help modern audiences engage with ancient questions about justice, redemption, and the consequences of human choice. Psychological studies of moral development suggest that concepts of cosmic justice serve important functions in human mental health and social cohesion. The idea that actions have ultimate consequences appears to contribute to moral behavior and social stability, even as traditional religious interpretations of hell face increasing skepticism in secular societies. Modern interpretations increasingly recognize hell as a powerful metaphor for real-world conditions. Environmental destruction, social injustice, and psychological trauma provide tangible examples of how hell-like states can manifest in human experience. This practical application of infernal imagery helps bridge ancient religious concepts with contemporary moral challenges. The rise of globalization and interfaith dialogue has enriched modern understanding of hell, revealing how different cultures approach questions of ultimate justice and moral consequence. This cross-cultural perspective encourages more nuanced interpretations that recognize both universal themes and cultural specificities in how humans conceive of divine judgment. Scientific research into consciousness, moral psychology, and near-death experiences continues to provide new frameworks for understanding traditional hell concepts. While these investigations don't necessarily validate religious claims, they offer insights into why beliefs about final judgment and moral consequence persist across cultures and eras. Beyond traditional religious interpretations, hell remains a powerful symbol in modern ethical discussions. Whether viewed as literal reality, psychological state, or moral metaphor, the concept continues to challenge humans to consider the ultimate meaning of their choices and the nature of justice itself. In facing contemporary challenges from climate change to social inequality, ancient insights about consequence and responsibility find new relevance and urgency. The persistence of hell in human consciousness, despite dramatic social and technological changes, suggests its enduring value in exploring fundamental questions about justice, free will, and the relationship between choice and consequence. As humanity faces unprecedented moral challenges, these ancient insights about ultimate accountability continue to inform our understanding of what it means to be human and how our choices shape both our present and our future. If you've enjoyed exploring what ancient texts reveal about hell and divine justice, be sure to subscribe for more biblical insights and ancient wisdom. Click the bell icon to be notified when we release new episodes exploring the treasures hidden in God's Word.